time to get out of the comfort zone because these people aren't playing games.
9/11 was an inside job. 9/11 was an inside job. 9/11 was an inside job.
We're going to organize. Humanity's going to come together. We are swinging muskets here, toe-to-toe with the globalists. They're bloodied. We're bloodied. It is absolute, total war.
Welcome, fellow liberty lovers, and those of you out there surfing and exploring the environs of the interwebs. I'm Alex Jones. This is another edition of INFOWARS Nightly News, Wednesday, January 25th, 2012. We've got a very informative guest who's been incredibly successful in a grassroots campaign for Ron Paul, getting Democrats and independents to basically cross over into the Republican primary, joining us after the first break. But in the meantime, let's get right into the news. Now, this was just breaking last night, but now we have the full details, and now the Associated Press and others have reported on this. And it's shocking because it confirms everything that we had already basically picked up on and reported on in pieces, but it puts it all together and is so incredibly un-American. But not just un-American. It is tyranny by any yardstick worldwide in history, period. Shock documents, total federalization of police under new Homeland Security mission. Mission creep, DHS agency abandons fighting terrorism, shifts to hiring your local police and taking over every facet of America. And it's all public. And Chertoff and others involved are there making the money. So it's a revolving door of the Homeland Security and Justice Department people profiting in the takeover of America. It is unspeakable. In fact, here's a quote from Aaron Dyke's excellent report that then links to all their own documents. In short, it confirms the intentions of key insiders, including former NSA and CIA heads like Michael Hayden, former Representative Jane Harman, former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, 9/11 Commissioners Philip Zelikow and Richard Benveniste, former National Security Advisor Samuel Berger, and others to flesh out a plan we have already seen developing from an outside perspective, namely to build a domestic Stasi-like force to take over, monitor, and control the population. And they say this isn't about even terror. This is about political control. And these guys themselves are just getting chicken feed to run the program for the big offshore banks that have captured America through fraud, but now want to hold us down. They've gotten good at this with third world countries in Latin America, Asia, and Africa, and Eastern Europe. And they have systems and strategies the IMF and World Bank talk about of how to totally crack down and just jack up food, water, devalue currencies to destroy the economy. And in the next phase, they then consolidate it all. I mean, this is just a race to the bottom and is a manifesto of evil. So I hope that you go read this admission by these arrogant criminals and the declaration of war against real Americans that recognize who they are. This is powerful. I mean, this is big. This is how they're going to implement the NDAA against the American people. And it makes me want to throw up. And it's run by a guy who looks like Skeletor. I mean, Chertoff is like a joke. I mean, if I was a top Hollywood producer and I was casting an evil guy, this is who I'd hire. I mean, it's like Hitler looks evil, Stalin looks evil. Frankly, he looks more evil than they do. I mean, it's just, I don't judge books by their cover, but if I was walking down a dark alley and saw Chertoff, I'd think, is this like an alien in a rubber suit, you know, disguising itself on the planet Earth? In fact, again, we found another shot of Chertoff right over here. You just Google Skeletor, you can find him. There it is. The former head of Homeland Security, Mr. Naked Body Scanner that says radiation's good for you. And they've got to put the naked body scanners into place because they're now putting them on the highways. They've got to break your will and assault the Bill of Rights, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, common decency, and sexually abuse you. This is all part of his sick little disgusting plan as a dirtbag, New York corrupt mob boss lawyer. I think I've said enough about that piece of trash. His name is a profanity. It's funny, in Russian, Chertoff actually means son of the devil. And I was told this about 8 years ago by a friend, and I was like, no, it doesn't mean that. So I went to a Russian language dictionary online, looked it up, and it said means of the devil or son of the devil. And then later, actually, one time I was at a library and happened to see a Russian dictionary and looked it up, and it means son of the devil. I mean, how do you get a last name like son of the devil? I mean, you can't make this up. That's why many literary geniuses have pointed out that truth is stranger than fiction. Hemingway said that it's a beautiful, wonderful, electric world, to paraphrase him, and it's worth fighting for. In fact, guys, look up the quote, Hemingway on the world is worth fighting for. I don't want to butcher that genius here today. He was called a conspiracy theorist when he said the FBI was messing with him, harassing him, and tapping his phones and doing dirty tricks and COINTELPRO. And then they said he was mentally ill and grabbed him and electroshock therapied him and then killed him, the word is, and claimed it was a suicide. And then it was declassified just a few years ago. They were indeed COINTELPROing him. But he's still a conspiracy theorist, though. They harassed him, they grabbed him and burned his beautiful mind out, but he's still bad. That's what's important to remember. If we can win here, we can win anywhere. The world is a fine place and worth fighting for, and I hate very much to leave it. There you go. There is a quote from Hemingway, another terrorist that the pieces of killed. Okay, sorry. We're taping the show tonight. I want you to beep that out, okay? All right. Okay, good, because this is teleprompter free, folks, and the problem is sometimes I'm not getting downloaded info from Karl Rove like Rush Limbaugh here. It's all me. It's all on me, and that's why it's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now let's move to the ugly and the bad. Newt Gingrich receives $5 million boost as he releases Freddie Mac contract, and you got casino barons. You know who those folks are, people like Trump. Good old boys, or good fellas, I think is the name they call it in Texas, or is it New Jersey? And just all these other groups. I mean, he's a total globalist, and he is Jabba the Newt with all his other little minions that have endorsed him, like Rick Perry, Mr. Open Borders, Mr. Carbon Taxes, Mr. World Government, and he is getting basically fully financed by the New World Order. And then meanwhile, Ron Paul is under unprecedented attack, not just by Jabba the Newt, but by BuzzFlash and Fox News. And of course, they said he goes on Alex Jones's show. Alex Jones is really crazy. Alternet said that I claim the government's putting cancer viruses in our vaccines. Well, I mean, anybody can just search SV40 and find that out in about 5 seconds. I mean, that's been admitted since the 70s. And they go on to just say he's incredibly dangerous because in one of his newsletters, and this is actually from one of the real newsletters, not a company they hired to do promo write-ups, as 8 of the 10 other offending things are that he said he didn't write. This is from the real newsletter. It's not a promo deal. And he went on to basically say this is probably a false flag event meant to blame groups that are against the New World Order and neocons who supported the murder of the Branch Davidians. And he went on to say government always uses any crisis to try to seize more control and more money. And he said we have a growing police state in America that will end up destroying our republic. And here we are 17 years later. It's true. I mean, Oklahoma City is a public inside job. I've interviewed the police, the ones they haven't killed, the head of the federal agency in the HUD building, Jane Graham. I've interviewed the doctors. I've interviewed everybody. I mean, the former head of Air Force Weapons Development, all of them. And it's also in the film A Noble Lie that we sell at INFOWARS.com. You want to get a copy of it and support us, but more importantly, get something that people have died for. And I've talked to the cops here on this show and other shows where they name the FBI people that came in the department and said, well, you were there right after the bomb. If you talk about what you saw, we're going to kill you and your wife. But Ron Paul's bad. I mean, we have the newscast where they're removing the unexploded bombs. I've talked to people that saw McVeigh and other top federal agents who it turned out were in Oklahoma and got caught lying about it, planting gray sticks of butter. And they're like, what are you doing? And they're, oh, we're from the phone company. I mean, this is absolute open and shut. But because Ron Paul lives on planet Earth, he's bad. And that's why the whole system is scared to death of him. You think it's fun to get up here and talk about murderers that blew up a federal building and picked it because it had a daycare center in it? I mean, these people will kill newborn babies and 2-year-old little girls and boys. You think I like getting up here and exposing these murderers? Somebody's got to do it because nobody's saying no to them, and they're destroying our world. They're getting ready to start World War III. They're butchering our Bill of Rights. They got us eating GMO crap. They got the troops breathing DU that was illegal for them to use until 1990. Crazy people are in control, and somebody's got to say no to them. We got the worst kind of tyranny because there's been well-organized tyrannies before where it was just about power that were bad and should be opposed in Rome and other areas. And more modern examples, the British Empire. But they weren't completely demonically possessed and actually trying to bring down creation itself. So there is no negotiation with these people. These are the worst of the worst that have competed with each other in a symphony of destruction and evil until individuals so primeval, so purely destructive, have been put into the positions of global hegemonic control. There's only a few dozen families max, no more than 6,000 superclass servants in their own words. And these people are beyond evil. And they write weird poetry about destroying the earth just because they're powerful. And they probably will do it. I mean, Nero committed suicide. Or was it Caligula? No, it was Nero. A bunch of these people go crazy. Well, but see, Nero couldn't destroy the earth. You're going to let a bunch of inbred, crazy nutcases play God and destroy our entire future? No. Head on, we're going to defeat them.